Greetings to the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom and to everyone attending and participating in today's hearing. I'm Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. As co-chair of the Congressional Executive Commission on China and as a member of the United States Foreign Relations Committee, I believe that transnational repression's growing threat to the rights and freedoms of people all across the globe, including freedom of belief and worship, has to be a top priority. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights declares that everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. Yet, more and more often, we see authoritarian governments reaching beyond their borders to silence the voices of dissident diaspora and religious minorities. Uyghurs, Tibetans, and more living across the world and living right here in the United States have been targeted and harassed by the Chinese government in person, online, and through threats against members of their families still living back home in China. One Uyghur man living here in Washington, D.C. was approached by a Mandarin-speaking woman who asked, "If you get poisoned, do you know how to treat yourself?" "The Chinese government is very powerful," she went on. "You could die in a car accident or get poisoned." What a chilling encounter. Just last month, we saw two men arrested in New York for operating a secret Chinese police station that was there to intimidate and control China's citizens abroad, right here in the United States, to stamp out criticism of the Chinese Communist Party. The Iranian government recently tried to kidnap and return a Brooklyn-based Iranian-American woman who advocated against mandatory hijab laws and other religious restrictions back in her homeland. The Belarusian government hijacked and diverted an airplane that was flying over its airspace to arrest an opposition activist and journalist. Russia used these tactics against Ukrainians in the lead up to its unprovoked invasion and has regularly gone after dissidents in Europe, most notably through poison. But it's not just our adversaries that deploy this tactic. Even partners like Egypt and Saudi Arabia have gone after exiles on U.S. territory, as Freedom Initiative showed in its recent report. The description for today's hearing puts this growing problem as plainly as possible. Thanks to technology and globally interconnected nature of modern society, authoritarianism is no longer contained to authoritarian states. The United States and the world must not only recognize this danger, but stand up and work together to put a stop to this menace that is jeopardizing the freedom and well-being of countless people across the planet and violating the sovereignty of democracies around the world. Passing the Transnational Repression Policy Act that Senator Rubio and I introduced back in March, along with Senators Cardin and Hagerty, would be a vital step in holding foreign governments and individuals accountable when they stalk, intimidate, or assault people across borders, including right here in the United States. And a special thank you to the organizations represented on the panel today who assisted in preparation of the bill: Freedom House, Freedom Initiative, and Uyghur Human Rights Project. The Transnational Repression Policy Act would hold foreign governments and individuals accountable by authorizing additional resources to train and fund personnel at U.S. government agencies to better understand the tactics of transnational repression and to crack down on perpetrators of it, both through law enforcement and sanctions authority. It would help elevate the fight against transnational repression as a key U.S. foreign policy priority by creating a network of like-minded partners to combat transnational repression and buttressing assistance programming to support at-risk groups and civil society organizations documenting the problem. Just as USCIRF is doing by holding today's hearing, you are helping to bring this issue further out into the light and elevate it in the eyes of the world. And that's something we need to keep working at every chance we get, because the people committing these acts depend on the shadows to carry them out. So thank you for holding this hearing and for all that you're doing to shine a light on and bring an end to transnational repression. Freedom, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of worship, demand fierce action to end transnational repression.